So part one of this video, we are going to explain the pain response and how pain gets modulated person to person and situation to situation, and what happens at each level neurophysiologically. So you get a pain, yes, this is a hand, sorry, in your hand, an injury, paper cut, worse pain. What happens locally to that area? You release off substances in response to an injury, things like substance P, bradykinins, CGRP, histamine, prostaglandins. These things are all different areas of inflammation which have different functions, but together, obviously, inflammation is a very important function, otherwise you wouldn't heal. So the right time, right place, inflammation is crucial. If you don't release it off, you don't heal. Okay, so things that these neurotransmitters do, they open up blood vessels. Vasodilation, bring blood, bring oxygen to the area, very helpful. They also make the blood vessels a little bit leaky, which obviously creates that puffy inflammatory look. You get a bit of heat as well. CGRP particularly is important as part of tissue healing and repair. Prostaglandin, substance P, they have more of an effect on increasing the nerve sensitivity in that area. So that is what we're going to be talking about primarily, is that the signalling is increased. So the threshold and rate of firing alters. The threshold reduces, the rate of signalling increases locally from wherever the injury is to the dorsal horn. And that goes via your A delta, A beta, and your C fibres. So they're the nerves that transmit locally to the dorsal horn of your spinal cord. Okay. There is some pain modulation, or signal modulation already occurring here. So from the actual area locally itself, you may release off what's known as GABA. Think gabapentin and pregabalin. That will reduce the signalling that goes across from those nerves, across the synapse into the dorsal horn. So it can reduce the signalling that's occurring there. The thing that increases it here is substance P predominantly. I mean, there's other stuff, but these are the main things that we're going to think about. So there's already this pain modulation occurring at the dorsal horn. From there, the signal travels across your spinal cord to the anterior horn and up the spinothalamic tract to, guess what, the thalamus. Just before it gets to the thalamus, there's also a little bit more pain modulation. So the periaqueductal grey and the nucleus raphe magnus get involved. They pick up on this signalling here and think, maybe we'll kick in some pain modulation, and they will send serotonin back down to that dorsal horn area, which again can help reduce that signal transmission across the dorsal horn into the anterior and then up the spinal thalamic tract. So reduce that signaling up to the thalamus. Okay, that's DNIC, diffuse noxious inhibitory control, that occurs across all the scales of the spinal cord. The thalamus is like a central processing unit. It takes the signal ascending up the spinal cord and then it kind of communicates with all the supraspinal areas. It's part of the limbic system, and it has a little more of a chat with the limbic system, which thinks about signal modulation. Limbic system consists of thalamus, hypothalamus. We've also got the amygdala involved in there, which is one of the main areas that fear is modulated from. We have got the, what am I thinking of here? Cingulate nucleus. We have got, the hippocampus. That's what I was thinking of. Hippocampus, which controls memory and learning. So memories, fears, behaviours, all of that will modulate the signal that the thalamus is creating to send up to the somatosensory cortex. The hypothalamus, so again, has a little communicate with here. Hypothalamus is super important for things like the stress response, which it's responsible for, and also hormone control, so which is why lots of health issues and stress and pain are all intrinsically linked, all controlled mainly from one area of the brain. So if that's not functioning, you've got a whole host of problems. Not functioning well. If it's not functioning, you're probably dead. Okay, so the hypothalamus communicates with the autonomic nervous system, which comprises your sympathetic nervous system, or your fight or flight response, and your parasympathetic nervous system, also known as the feed and breathe or rest and digest. So the state of play of your stress response, that side, autonomic nervous system, also influences how the hypothalamus sends signals to the thalamus and what's going on with the signalling involved in the pain response there, okay? The hypothalamus also sends a signal to your pituitary, which is the key hormone system or releaser in your body. It controls many hormone functions. One of them, it sends signals to your adrenal gland, which releases off cortisol. Now, cortisol is a massive anti-inflammatory substance in the body, so that will feed back to the original site of injury, modulating that pain response. Inflammatory response, apologies. The sympathetic nervous system also is pro-inflammatory overall, and the parasympathetic, a little bit complicated, but overall this one is anti-inflammatory. So again, the state of what is going on with the autonomic nervous system kind of gives you an alteration in your inflammatory response here. These two systems work very closely. If the sympathetic nervous system is activated with the pro-inflammatory response, a few seconds later the adrenal gland will automatically kick in with that anti-inflammatory cortisol response. So the two have to work together to really control inflammation. And lots of chronic inflammatory conditions like rheumatoid arthritis are when those two systems don't function together correctly. But I divest. So we've got lots and lots of modulation going on here. The thalamus is taking all of these signals in from the brain. It's taking all of the sending information up from the site of injury up the spinal cord. It modulates, it has a think about that pain signal, and it sends the ultimate signal up to the somatosensory cortex where you actually feel the pain. So until it gets to that point at the somatosensory cortex, the pain level is undetermined, but as soon as it gets out of the thalamus up to the somatosensory cortex, that is the level of pain that you are going to be feeling. And it can be variable because this system is so manipulative. It can be different person to person. It can be different with the same person in different situations, whether you're more stressed, less stressed, whether that pain the injury that you're kind of experiencing, you've had before and it was awful and it brings back bad memories, it will make it worse. So situation can massively alter pain. Probably one of the reasons why if you're kind of fall over in front of everyone, you get up, you're like, okay, keep the pain down. You know, I need to cover this up. Your nervous system is going to work to get rid of that pain signal until you can get somewhere and have a little cry about it later. So situation will massively influence pain. If you notice, if you've got kids, when they're tired and grotty and they fall over and scuff their knees, it's the end of the world. If they're having a great time having fun with their friends, they're more than likely going to get over, scrape, get up, think, phew, no problem. Also learn behaviours. If they're taught that actually injuries are, not the end of the world most of the time, they'll get up and brush it off. But if they associate it with bad experiences or kind of worry and fear, then again, pain to them will perceive to be worse. So lots and lots of manipulation to pain. Video 2, we're going to talk about how acupuncture can influence this.